try to eliminate their existence?
Yeah, he was a state rep too.
Glendale's the only one that's still got cameras in traffic.
They have a cop. So anyway, so Mr. Delaquila, this is Rick Delaquila, and he will be hopefully representing the Ohio 15th district.
Thank you.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Rick Delaquila, as we just heard from Councilman Harsh. I'm running for the newly created House District 15, Ohio House District 15. I'm going to circulate some literature. It has some maps on, that sort of thing, that indicate what the district composition is. I have a little bio that I'm going to hopefully circulate and see.
Sure.
Yep. A little bit of the history that Kris was alluding to. The Supreme Court, as you're probably aware, on several different occasions indicated to the Ohio Redistricting Commission, which is the commission that was authorized by the state legislature to redraw the maps of the state of Ohio for the House, the Ohio Senate, and for the U.S. congressional seats. They kept redrawing the maps, and on each occasion, the Ohio Supreme Court indicated that the maps did not meet constitutional requirements. And effectively what they're saying is there are certain requirements, without belaboring the detail. The district has to be a certain compactness. It has to reflect a ratio of Democratic to Republican votes that reflects the state composition. In Ohio, I believe it's 54% Republican, 46% Democrat in the last election, with 1% various third parties. On each occasion, the Ohio Supreme Court, by one vote, indicated that the maps were unconstitutional, and the commission had to go back and redraw those maps. When they got to the third map, the commission resubmitted that map yet again to the court with some minor changes. And contemporaneously, there was a federal court action that was filed in which the plaintiffs were asking that the federal court step in and simply impose a map. Well, after things developed through those two lawsuits, the federal court stated that if the Ohio decision makers didn't come up with a final decision on the map by May 28th, the federal court was going to step in and they were going to impose that third map. And that's essentially what happened. At that point, the commission didn't do much else, and they just waited for the time to run. Federal court says, okay, fine, this is going to be the map. That's how District 15 looks the way it does. I'll give you a map in a minute about that shows that. But because the decision was rendered by a court, it's only going to be in effect for 2 years. So in the next 2 years, the state government is going to be redrawing maps yet again, and they're probably going to be going back and forth to the courts to figure out where we all stand. They are considering District 15 a Democratic-leaning district, and that's part of the conflict that's going on because it's within less than 1% Democratic. And it's really a toss-up district, but they're putting it in the Democratic column. And I'll show you a little drawing that shows the map. This is a circular that I'm putting together. In the lower right-hand corner, there's that, you got one already. There's the little green drawing of the map.
Yeah.
It wraps around Parma.
It's a screw.
And
Oh yeah.
It includes parts of wards 12, 13, and 14 in Cleveland.
I think all of 13.
Okay.
I think all of Ward
All of
13 is in this.
One little corner of Ward 3, way up in the northeast over there, if you look at the map. It includes Brooklyn, Lindale, Brooklyn Heights, Seven Hills, Broadview Heights, and North Royalton. It wraps in a reverse C around the city of Parma. The reason that there's, at this point anyway, no one else running is, as the maps were drawn over and over again, people who had, I'm a Democrat, people who had filed in the Republican primary, there were, I believe, 3 early on. 2 of them were, I think, in Brecksville and another city, that in the 3rd map, they were cut out. The boundary line put Brecksville in a neighboring, I could write a book, in a neighboring district, which left 1 Republican and myself running in 15. Well, the Republican withdrew from this race and decided instead that he was going to run in the, pardon me? Brecksville. Yeah. He was going to run in the Republican primary for the U.S. congressional seat on the western edge of the county. I think that's district, I think it's 7, but I'm not sure. Well, anyway, he lost. Another person got the Republican nomination there. He then went to the Ohio Supreme Court and asked to come back into this race. The Ohio Supreme Court said, you only get 1 bite at the apple. You don't get to bounce back and forth between races. And so they did not allow him back in. By that time, the filing deadlines to run as a partisan had expired. The only remaining deadline at this point is for someone who wants to file as an independent. They have until 4 p.m. on August the 1st to file as an independent in the November 8th general. They can't get on the primary. So Kris is correct. As we sit here today, there is no one, but we've still got a few weeks to figure out whether or not somebody's going to step in as an independent. So questions about that? I mean, it's a,
Did you follow that? Was that?
So you're gonna only be here for 2 years then? And then they're
I
gonna
don't know.
redraw the maps again?
It's possible that they leave this district intact as is. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. It's all up in the air.
It's not been our experience in recent memory that they keep districts the same when they redraw, but they could. We don't know. It's weird.
Right.
Is this all done by the census then?
I'm sorry?
By the census, the way they do this?
Yes, yeah, it's because every 10 years we have a
Yes.
census and they're required to redraw the maps. And there's various levels of how the decision is made that determine how long the map lasts. It can last for 10 years, it can last for 4 years, and in this case it's only going to last for 2 years because the court had to impose it. So here we are. I don't know what the future holds. It's possible that 15 continues as is. You don't know until you know.
Right.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Ohio's Homestead Exemption, if you are interested. Does everybody know what that is, and are you? Okay, let me tell you a little bit about that. I have a handout on that. In Ohio, there's a law that says a disabled person or a senior person making below $34,200 a household is permitted to file a form with the county asking the county and the state to exempt a certain part of their valuation of their home from taxation, property tax. Every 6 years, the county comes through the county and reassesses property, and they assign a value that they determine to be the fair market value of the property. And every 3 years, they have to go through and update that determination. What the Homestead Exemption presently does is it says the first 20, if you're disabled or over 65, if you're a disabled veteran, it's $50,000. If you're elderly and not a veteran, it's $25,000 of the valuation of your property that can be exempted from tax. Very small number, and it needs to be increased, and I'll tell you why in a minute. As I put on the top of this page, what that basically means is if the house is worth $100,000, for sake of discussion, it's taxed as though it's only a $75,000 valuation. However, as the values of the property continue to increase and the cost of everything else goes up, the value of that exemption is steadily diminishing. And I have a map there that shows, this is a county map actually, that shows the valuations that were modified in this last go-round, last triennial adjustment that they made. The average is 16%. There was a 16% increase in Cuyahoga County. But you'll see that Cleveland is the very, very deep orange. I know it's a very small, tight map. You can find this map online. The average in Cleveland is 23%, 7% more than the average countywide. The value of your house on average, it was increased 7% more than the average throughout the county, which is pretty significant. 7 over 16 is what, roughly 3/8? That's roughly 35, 36% higher than the average of the county, when you think about it. So something's got to be done about that. The current household maximum income is, as I said, $34,200. It was adjusted by a couple $100 recently. I think what we need to do is take a look at that whole thing and find a way to expand that. I think the minimum, the absolute minimum, should be somewhere around 50,000, and the property income limitation should be lowered. And here's the reason why. If you just saw the news today, the consumer price index year to year, it was 9.1%. If you had $100 a year ago, it's now worth $9.10 less than it was then. It buys $9.10 less, even though it's a $100 bill. And every month that goes by, it steadily gets eaten away, eaten away, eaten away. What that does to that $25,000 is it reduces that by that same, in this case, 9.1%. The value of your house on the other end of the equation is going up, so your taxes potentially are going up. However, the valuation that you can exempt is actually decreasing, and the income level is becoming more and more meaningless because the dollar is worth less and less every month. And that's just how it is. So one of the things that I propose that we ought to take a look at is perhaps, and Kris and I have had some discussions, he came up with a great idea, is to perhaps tie the homestead exemption to the consumer price index in some way. To say if the CPI goes up this much, then the homestead exemption should go up incrementally that same amount, so that it paces the rate of inflation and you don't get, undermined because the value of everything is so out of whack. Another thought was perhaps if we increased it to some flat figure to 50,000, exempt that full 50,000, but only exempt half of it from schools and the other half not from schools, and then the other 25,000. The schools should get something, so okay, they begin getting money on that second 25,000. The other potential solution would be to just simply cap the home's assessed value. For as long as the person qualifies for that, this is actually your idea. Yeah. If the value of the house goes up, but the person who has qualified for that exemption still owns that house and still lives in that house, and they meet whatever the current income restriction is, the valuation of their house that can be taxed should not change. It should just be locked in, and then if they sell or if they pass away and it passes on through probate or something, then at that point you can revisit that issue. But it should be locked in so that people who are struggling to stay in their homes are not having their homes taxed away because they can't afford to cover the half-year billing that comes in. Then at the bottom in green there, I've got some information about how you can contact the county to get the forms to apply. It's handled by the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Department. I have their address and their phone number there. And it's very critical that you remember, if you apply for it, the application has to be made by December 31st of the year that you're applying for. So for obviously 2022, you've got to apply by the end of the year this year in order to qualify for the exemption. I know that's a lot in a short period of time. Questions?
I do. Who comes up with the 9.1% figure?
Say it again?
Who comes up with the 9.1%
That was on
figure?
the news today, the federal government. The federal government
And
announced
that's
it.
the current inflationary rate too. It's the same
I think they're a little off.
Yeah, well,
Like a loaf of bread that was $2 isn't $2.19 now.
what they do is they average, like they'll take gasoline prices, food prices, rental costs.
I just in committee today, they were talking about the price of phosphorus has doubled.
Yeah.
And and it's partially because of the war in Ukraine.
But almost everything is doubled.
So you've got things like utility prices that get impacted, like if the price of phosphorus doubles, that's gonna be felt in your utility bill. So there's all kinds of weird things that, the bread hasn't gone up 20%, but some things have doubled. So it's like a doubling here, a 25% here, a 5% there, you
No, I think
average
the
it all
bread-
out, you
no,
get
I think the bread's
9.1.
gone up more than 20%, that's
And
what I'm saying.
there's some things they don't even include in the calculation, and
Yeah.
I could probably figure it
I
out.
mean, like, anybody that rents knows rent has gone up significantly high.
Yeah.
Yes.
Utilities are significantly
Well, the
high.
number they
Gas, cars, everything's high, so 9%,
I do remember the number they assigned to housing, 5.9%.
That's just so far this year.
I'm just
So
saying.
I know
That's
that-
not last year or the
so
year
like, I
before.
can tell you, like, and I was thinking this today when I bought lunch, because I went down to Dave's on, was that Chester and 59th or whatever, or Carnegie?
The new one on the east side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went there for
Oh.
lunch today at work, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I used to be able to do lunch for $3 to $6,
Yeah,
like every day, $3 to $6. Now it's minimum 10.
yeah.
A breakfast that I used to pay $2, $3 for, is
Now
now
it's
$10. Yeah, oh yeah, and depends where you go. Yeah.
Like
it's
you go to Gabe's, it's $6.99 for a couple eggs and some bacon.
and half of the restaurants you used to go to have closed up.
That's why when the federal government comes up with the number like 9%, I think they're way out of
Yeah,
touch.
you may be right.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things though about this is that, about this proposal to address the homestead exemption is that for a lot of us, it is a cost-saving measure for low-income, mostly seniors, in our community who we are trying to keep priced into their current environment. We're trying to keep their current home environment. So it's sort of an anti-poverty thing, and that we're trying to keep people from being priced out. But in the Republican legislature where you would be working, it's just another anti-tax bill, and they love anti-tax bills. So
Well, this is why there's a chance for some bipartisanship.
Right.
Because everybody gets some benefit.
they don't
out of
like
it.
taxes,
Yeah.
and we're sort of showing how this can actually be used to help people that need it at the lowest end of the economic spectrum. And please tell people if they don't know about this, because in our neighborhood, 25,000 can still be about a half your home value. And so in our community, the homestead reduction has got some people, I've seen people pay zero taxes because of homestead reduction. Because once you drop them and then you take a third down there, it all becomes a wash. But it's really important that we tell our neighbors about the homestead exemption and then boost it to be a.
I'd also like to take a look at perhaps lowering the age to qualify. Why is it just, seniors? I mean, if a person is low income, why do they not have the same opportunity to try to stay in their house?
Yeah.
I think that's something we're looking at too.
Yeah. There's a couple different ways to do it, and it's an important conversation.
That to what you're speaking of, who do you take that to?
Well, that's his job. That'd be the job of the state rep.
What would he take, who would you take it to?
Who would I
Tell him
take?
how to do the job.
Those proposals, just.
Well, the first thing that has to happen is we have to get some leverage in the State House. Right now, there are 99 seats in the House, but the Republican Party has a super majority. That means that they are in control. There's no way that the Democratic representatives can do anything to stop them, and that they don't even have to get a Democratic vote if they stick together and want to pass a piece of
They
legislation.
can even lose a few of their own.
Yeah, right, right, exactly. Right now, their edge is 5 votes. If you move 5 votes from what, not even the 5, maybe 2.5 votes, if you move some of those votes from this side to this side, now they have to at least talk to you. Now they have to come to you. If they lose any Republican votes, they have to come to the Democrats and say, will you support this particular measure? So the first and most important thing is, we need to send some more Democrats to Columbus. Otherwise, the Republican thing that you see going on is just going to continue. Also, as long as we're on this subject, it's really critical, I think, to pay attention to what's going on with the Ohio Supreme Court election. There are 3 seats up. My completely uneducated opinion on the subject, guess, is that before the Ohio legislature does anything with Dobbs and what's going to happen with reproductive rights, I think that issue is going to wind up in the Ohio Supreme Court first. And so the justices of the Supreme Court are probably going to make some decisions on that subject before it ever gets to the House. Very, very critical. Whatever your position is on it, very critical to make sure you're paying attention to the election of those three justices in November. Okay, I have something else on this, and then I'll stop boring you. I want to talk to you a little bit about House Bill 920. And tell you
How
what
will
that
we
is.
find
and-
out who's running for those?
I'm sorry?
How will we find out who's running for those?
I can look it up and tell you who they are.
I can tell you that Jennifer Bruner is running to be the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. Ms. Bruner was the Secretary of State 10, 15 years ago. Jennifer Bruner, she is from up northeast Ohio. Oh no, she's from Columbus area. And Brunner. And if you look up Jennifer Bruner, she is definitely helping the other two women that are running for the two other spots. I was just looking at their flyer and boys at her. Oh, right there. Here, you want to share that with her?
Yeah.
Ma'am, the Ms. Rosemary there has there they are. There's the three.
Yeah, that's going to be an important race to pay attention to. I just have a gut feeling that before anything happens in the legislature, the Supreme Court is going to be called on to make some decision one way or
But
the other.
you don't think that'll happen this year?
Pardon?
You think that'll happen next year when the next court is?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably too premature now, but never say never.
You're welcome.
Yeah, right.
Anybody else want to see it?
I've got someone's at home right. You guys want to see it? She's got the list of people running for Supreme Court if you're interested in who they are. Okay.
Okay, this is a little thing I put together about House Bill 920. I can't take credit for it, you see at the bottom, but I sourced this from the Office of the County Appraiser. But I think it's important to know how your taxes are calculated and to understand the general parameters of how the property tax system works. This is a piece of legislation that was passed in 1976. The purpose of it is to prevent inflation from eating away at revaluation and therefore your taxes. Your property taxes are calculated on two basic general factors. The first is what they assume to be the fair market value of the property, meaning what would a willing buyer pay a willing seller for your property, all sides being aware of all the pluses and minuses about the property and neither one of them being forced to buy or sell. That's what the rough legal definition is of fair market value. And they allow the opportunity for people to challenge that. If you believe that they have overstated the value of your property in each year up until the end of March, you have the right to file a complaint with the Board of Revision to say you believe that your house is overvalued for whatever reason, and they'll set a hearing. The other factor that they use to calculate your taxes is the tax rate of the specific community that you live in. That's set by council and sometimes by charter, but each community, in the county, has a different rate that they apply to that value to figure out the taxes. So the county fiscal officer, as we mentioned before, goes through this process every 6 years. They update it every 3 years. But again, as the cost of everything else increases with inflation, obviously, so does the assumed value of your property. The tax rates are set in terms of what are called mills. A mill is equal to $1 per thousand of valuation. So for each $1,000 of value, 1 mill is $1. The tax rates are levied by the various taxing authorities within that community. It can be the schools, the city, the library system, the metro parks, even a joint vocational school. The Ohio Constitution sets a limit on what's called inside millage. And what that means in English is there's a cap on how much can be assessed against your property without a vote of the people. That's the inside millage, and that works out to $10 per thousand of valuation. Anything over that amount has to be by a vote of the people, by a levy. And that's set by the Ohio Constitution. In 1976, the legislature enacted House Bill 920, the idea being as inflation was increasing the value of the property, that inside millage was going up too, because the value of your property, each $1,000 increment means that you can be taxed on inside millage alone an additional $10. So that's why this thing was passed, to allow inflation not to eat away at your tax bill. Almost all millage approved in a city charter is exempt from House Bill 920. That means that when you vote for a levy, it's not limited by this legislation. So you can actually tax yourself more than what this thing would ordinarily cap. When the voters approve a tax levy, they are agreeing to pay a certain amount of money for a certain specific time or a certain specific purpose. Each property owner pays a share of that overall tax bill in proportion to the assumed value of their property. So I won't go through the numbers and bore you with it, but whatever the proportionate share of the total value is of your particular property, that's how they carve up the responsibility for tax payment. House Bill 920 kicks in when the property values increase due to the inflation by a appraisal or an update of some other kind. So I give you an example here that suppose the voters agreed to pay, to tax themselves $5 million with a $5 mil levy for a school levy. The following year, let's say there's a reappraisal and the values go up. House Bill 920 does not permit the school to collect more than that $5 million. So what they do is they have to adjust the amount of your tax bill to make sure that you're still paying a proportionate share, but that the school is not going to get more than that $5 million. Without House Bill 920, that would remain a possibility. It applies to all voted levies, not to the inside. The adjustment, I'll go back to that example, the adjustment that I just talked about is what's called the effective tax rate. So even though it was determined when the levy was passed how much it was going to cost each particular home, each particular homeowner, the effective tax rate is that adjusted amount.
Have you ever seen a sign or a campaign for a millage that said, "This is not a tax increase"? If they were asking you to pass 1.5 mil, it's because they're making up for the depleted loss of the original bill. So they voted for 5 mils, that was 10 years ago, but home values have gone up, so they're not making 5 mils now, they're making 3.5 mils. So they ask you to put that 1.5 back on to get them back up to where they were because they're losing their money. And that's what we were trying to get at.
Right.
You see those signs, this is not a tax increase, you're like, but how? This is how. It's very complicated, but he's getting at, that's what he's getting at.
Well, the point to all this, let me kind of summarize this. The point to all this is, in the economic circumstances that we're currently in, the buying power of the dollar is diminishing, while the assessed value of your house is going up, and in this case, substantially, 23%. So you're getting eaten away at both ends. The dollar that you're spending is worth less than it was, let's say, even a year ago, but your house now is being taxed at that 23% increased appraised value. So this is your expenses are going this way for the property taxes that you're paying. My position is, if I get down to Columbus, we need to do something about that. And I don't think we should just limit it to seniors and disabled. I think we should take a look at decreasing the maximum amount that a household can earn and lower the age limit so that younger people, families can take advantage of this and they're not going to get taxed out of their homes. Thank you.
All right. Maybe we have questions.
Questions? If something occurs to you afterward, the paperwork I circulated has contact information for me, my email, website, all of that stuff. So please reach out. I would love to hear from you.
Two of the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, I mean, it's just, where's your email on this one?
It's on one of the, yes, it's on one of those. The card, yes, the cardboard card. Thank you, Councilman.
Absolutely, thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you keep your highest title.
Yeah, I used to be mayor.
You used to be mayor of
7 Hills.
Seven Hills.
And
So-
you'll still be able to remain in the area down here.
Yes, yeah, but there's a lot of travel involved. You become, if I get elected, you become very intimately acquainted with Interstate 71.
Yeah.
All the Waffle Houses, like I'm thinking of all the Waffle Houses.
You end up with a roommate it's a glamorous lifestyle in the state legislature. You have a roommate that you share a hotel room with a couple days a week, as you stay on a very small stipend.
Yes.
Because the Democrats aren't in power, they get less money for housing than the Republicans. The party in power gives themselves more money for housing in Columbus for their members to travel than the party not in power.
I
So
think it's $65.
$65 a night.
But it doesn't, it's not for every night, it's not for only 1 or 2 nights a month. I haven't looked into it in any detail, but I know $65. You can't get a Motel 6 for $65.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there was some talk some years ago about buying a house. The party was going to buy a house so they could rent bedrooms out to people. Anyway.
If I was doing this for the money, I need my head examined. And I was like,
No, it does take a dedication and commitment to public service and a desire to do what's right to really run for this office. So thank you for sticking your neck out there.
Thank you.
I want to let you all know too that as long as I've lived in Old Brooklyn, we've always been in a state senate and state house district with Parma, Brooklyn, Parma Heights, our immediate neighbors, you know. The northern part of Cleveland usually went west. As you can see, they carved him around Parma. We won't even be in the same Senate district as Parma. As a matter of fact, everything goes the way most election people would think. Our next state senator is Matt Dolan. We are in Matt Dolan's district. Matt Dolan's a Republican from Solon. Dolan's from Solon's?
His family owns the Guardians.
They own the Guardians, yes. If you're mad about them changing the names, oddly enough, it was a Republican that changed the name of the Indians to the Guardians. But we will be in a Senate district unlike one we've ever had. So this is just a high bizarreness for us. It's unusual that we are in this situation, and I certainly look forward to the good things you can do, and hope that we can stay in your district. But the way these maps are going, there's just, you know, we're all just going to get through this year.
It's all up in the air.
And see how it goes starting next year and all that. So
He wasn't related to the Nolan who was the head of the Ohio Lottery Commission.
I'm
That I
sure.
don't know.
I'm sure it's not that big.
He's from Fay Village or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, this tried to be, yeah. Oh no, yeah, that was his brother. He put on the lottery
Is
commission.
it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
One's a senator, one runs the team, one is on the lottery commission. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so there was something I was going to say too, but I forget. The whole millage thing too is fascinating because you don't get taxed on 100% of the value of your house. Say your house is worth $100,000. You're only getting taxed on $35,000 because we only tax at about 35% of market value. So your taxes are already at this almost 35% rate, and then you divide by 1,000 and multiply times your mills. So taxes are really bizarre to calculate, but they have a big impact when your house goes up as much as it has in Cleveland. We went up more than most places, partially because it was the final correction from the 2008 foreclosure crisis. We are now back where we were in 2008 for the most part. We've almost hit parity where we're out of that slump. The rest of the county beat us to it. So their increase was smaller because they already got out of their slump a couple of years ago. But they kind of brought us out with this new valuation. They hit like a lot of sticker shock when you got your tax bills this year. You noticed there was a hefty increase. So
Lakewood went up 27%.
27%. That's
On average.
That's noticeable.
That's because people think paying $300,000 for a house in Lakewood is a good investment.
They do.
For
What they ought to do is buy houses in Old Brooklyn for half that and get twice as many good neighbors.
Like a quarter of that.
Quarter. So I think that's it for our speaker. Appreciate it. And if you guys have anything open for me, I looked up your house while we were doing this, and I have good news. The Sheriff's Department was there today, filed July 13th. That's today, right?
Yes.
Okay, the notice of file by Lakeview Loan Servicing, Attorney Joshua was out there, notice of a hearing. They have been subpoenaed. When they don't show up in court, because they won't, okay, the judge grants the judge, if the prosecutor shows up and the defendant doesn't, the prosecution wins. So the defendant's not gonna show up.
He won't
But
show up,
the
no.
bad news is, That court date is August 30th.
Oh, for Christ's sake. This has been going on for 2 years.
Well, no, it stopped because of COVID. They stopped the foreclosure. That's what I was explaining to you last time. They started a foreclosure
Yeah.
for not paying their mortgage.
My
They-
taxes went up $300 and I'm living next to a dump.
And we're going to get that house out. We're going to get those people out of there, and that house is going to get back to the bank. It's going to put it on the market, sell it to somebody who can fix it up. Okay. So the good news is it was today. The bad news is the hearing's on August. I won't sugarcoat anything for you. Okay, I'll just give it to you straight up.
It's unreal.
I do have one nugget. The St. Luke's site is going to go back out and request for proposals. Old Brooklyn is ready to release that, I heard, next week. Ask for a new round of potential rehab, reinvestment, whatever you want to do. Whatever people want to do. So that should come out next week, and we're going to push it far and wide and hard, and everybody's going to know with plenty of time to do their evaluations and their work and their site plans and all that. So that should be coming up here really soon, as early as next week. We'll be able to put that in the hands of people that want to do submit a bid for the St. Luke's site. So that's back on the front burner.
Do you know what they're doing with the properties over by the body shops?
Which body shops?
What is it, Frank's Coach and Carriage? By the library, state and...
Oh, yeah. So that is also owned by Old Brooklyn CDC, who has a very low interest loan on it to pay the taxes. They're still looking for developers. They're still looking for people
But
that
they're
want to
just
submit.
not gonna let it get into disarray.
Huh?
They're just not gonna let it get
Right. They're just holding it down, keeping it clean and clear, and so that
So they're not
property.
gonna try to make it a slum and blight area?
You mean drive value down so they get additional investment?
Yeah.
No, that's not a good strategy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks
All
for
right.
everybody. If you have any
Thank you.
questions, reach out.
All right.
Well,
Take care.
I only ask because it's getting closer to
When
home.
you're in the office, come back and let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
I do so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll always be welcome.
Thank you.
All righty.
Yeah,
So long.
St. Luke's, they're gonna tear it down? or-
We don't know. We don't know. There was a proposal to tear it down, but that proposal wasn't funded. The state of Ohio said no to funding that proposal. That same proposal could come back, or a proposal to keep it and rehab it could come back. We don't know yet. They're going to open up the process of asking everyone to submit their ideas.
Oh, when I was a kid, that was our YMCA.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to, everybody, the whole neighborhood went there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been around for a while. And everybody knows about the sheets on Brook Park, Pearl. So you know the shopping plaza on the northwest corner of Brook Park and Pearl. The Luna restaurant is there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's getting torn down and redeveloped into a Sheets gas station.
That's actually a good thing. That's a long time coming.
It is a good thing.
There's no good stores really
They
in
took
there.
PNC out of there.
Yeah, everybody was notified of this like in January. This
They're not renewing any leases.
no, they're not. Everybody's known
I
for a
see,
while.
yeah, no, half
So
of the
when is-
places.
when is-
that's-
supposed to do that?
Gas stations like that.
There are, you're right. Brook Park is definitely a good place to get gas. You've got competitive stations with a bidding war, a drive down price. No, Sheets is gonna do one thing that I really, really like, and one thing that lots of other people like that I don't know anything about. What they're gonna do that I like is they're gonna plant trees. They're actually shutting down 3 curb cuts close to the intersection. You know, a curb cut is where cars pull in and out. They're shutting down the 2 curb cuts on Brook Park closest to the Pearl, and 1 on Pearl closest to Brook Park. So they're gonna move all the curb cuts off the intersection, which helps with congestion. And they're gonna turn those into grassy and plant trees. There are no trees on Brook Park. It's one of the most depressing streets you'll ever drive down. It's like a concrete jungle, right? So they're gonna plant some trees on Brook Park, which I like. They're also doing the full drive-through food service. So a lot of people, Father Brown, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, over at Mary Queen of Peace, that he really likes their food service program. They got this like meals to go thing. So they're gonna have like a drive-through food service there too.
They
So
also have $3 build your own Sundays.
that now my kids like it now. That's
Gummy bears, cookies, whatever you
Wow.
want to throw on there.
Well, I guess I will be there for the ribbon cutting.
Aren't they
They're gonna
come out
carry
something
over.
like that?
So they're gonna, so, do you know where the Yorktown Theater is?
Yes.
That building stays.
Yeah.
That building stays. The Cleveland Vision Center is one of their tenants. Cleveland Vision Center stays. It's everything from the Vision Center east gets
So
torn
when are they
down.
supposed to do it?
When? This fall.
So are they taking down the whole strip?
But they're gonna stop halfway up. So that strip got split into two parcels.
Okay, got it.
So the southern parcel that sits on the corner is getting torn down. The northern parcel where that weird three-story, like, weired tower,
Federal building.
the federal building, that stays.
The old peaches,
Yeah,
coconuts?
the Punch Palace. And that little strip on the northern end stays. Now, Sheets people were saying they're still having talks about redeveloping that as well. So they're not ready to come out with anything or drop
Redeveloping
names.
what?
Huh?
Redeveloping what?
The northern part, that second parcel, knocking it down and doing something there.
They need to act on coconuts.
Oh yeah, that whole thing can go. Yeah, it hasn't been productive or helpful to the neighborhood in forever.
Oh, 20, 25 years.
Yeah, its day is gone, and nobody wants that type of like strip mall space anymore. It's just not what people are looking for, especially right there. Brook Park's not going to be a shopping destination anytime soon. You know, nobody's going to.
You go there if you want to buy cars or gas.
Cars, boats, truck hitches. The car auction is down there if you're a dealer and you buy cars at the auction. Huh? Sweeties has got this niche business. With putt-putt, I bought putt-putt in there. It's weird, it's tucked away, you kind of forget that you're on Brook Park.
Going the other way, on the other side of the Citizens Bank, that old sandwich shop, all graffitied up, I think.
Where are you?
I'm shifting gears, I'm going north, where they're building the new Citizens Bank.
On Pearl.
Oh yeah, the Shake Shack.
Yeah. what do you
Yeah,
do with that?
so the Shake Shack they're still thinking about selling it to a developer who's not sure if they want to do what they want to do. The city's not sure if they like the idea. There's sort of like a hybrid. So Dunkin' Donuts has wanted to be in Old Brooklyn for a long
It's a
time.
good spot for a Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin'
Right
Donuts,
by
has
the
wanted,
zoo?
Dunkin' Donuts has wanted to be here for a while. As a matter of fact, if Old Brooklyn CDC didn't own St. Luke's would be a Dunkin' Donuts by now.
And maybe they'll
Um,
get Jack Frost to lower their prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, $2 a bowl.
So somebody was talking about a Dunkin' hybrid with a BW3
Oh my gosh.
wings to go.
What?
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, and Dunkin'? Like, yeah, hybrid. I'm like, wait.
Is it usually Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins?
Yeah. But the zoo really wants, so the 25th Street RTA corridor is the health line, and they want to run they're going to start running those big extra long buses, the same way Euclid does. And by the way, the Euclid corridor is a success. It's spurred millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in investment, and people use it. And so they want to do that on 25th, but they need bigger spots for bus stops. So RTA wants to bus stop right at the top of the zoo, and that would sort of shut down the Shake Shack's curb cut area. So there's like a lot of conversations happening about what to do with that place because there's just different interests, and right now everything's just sort of.
Just do the Dunkin' Donuts.
But the people that have owned it for years still own it, and so like all private property, they have a right to sell to whoever they want to sell to. They are investors in it for the cash. They've owned that for a long time. They've been paying their taxes on it dutifully. They want a payday. They want to get paid for that thing. So they're going to probably just sell to the highest bidder. The city has some ability to stop some ideas that aren't zoned legally, but we'll see where it goes. Okay. I don't want to keep you, but.
Speed bumps. I've heard that there's going to be a delay on speed bump deliveries.
So, there are.
Slow people down
Okay,
in
the
this
city of
neighborhood.
Cleveland considers a street.
Geez, White Street's a speedway.
I know. The city of Cleveland considers a street to be one intersection to the other.
Right.
Okay, so my street is 3 streets. From Broadview to my house, there are 3 streets because there's intersections, right? Each intersection is a street. There are 250 streets in Ward 13 alone. Just Ward 13. Times 17 wards is 40,000 streets in the city of Cleveland. We cannot afford 40,000 speed bumps, okay? Everybody wants one. Everybody wants a
I'll
speed
tell
bump.
you,
Where did
the
you
one
watch
on
your
Corliss
old speed
doing.
bump?
Everybody lives on this.
On Amazon.
What's that?
How's the one out, like, don't they have something out in Corlett,
It's the speed table.
speed tables?
So the speed tables are like the length of a car. Like, so from here to where she's standing, like the whole thing is raised, and the idea is that a plow can go over it. There's one big problem with a speed bump, and that's that snow plows are rigid. They're not designed to go up and down. They're rigid. And when a snow plow hits a speed bump, a couple different things can happen. You can destroy the speed bump, you can destroy the plow, or the plow can go up over it, and the snow on the other side of that speed bump just gets missed, okay? The speed table is designed that the plow will go up a gradient and then go along the speed table and then go down the other side of the speed table, so a speed table can be plowed. The driver has to know there's a speed table because you don't want that big plow truck, but a car going too fast will completely lift driving down the street, and this is supposed to just scare the crap out of the driver, which, you know, results in slower
If
speeds.
he'd go down my street, he'd be flying.
I know. And you're not the only one, believe it or not. So they're experimenting with speed tables to see if they work. The first thing they're gonna do is put a couple in. We were not chosen as one of the pilot streets. So they've got like 5 of them in the whole city. And so they're gonna experiment with that to see if they work. Brooklyn Acres, our friends over there that straddle,
Those are awful.
okay, they put in those little rubber ones that bolt down, and they plan to take them up in the winter so that the plows just keep going straight, then put them back down. I told Rob over there, the maintenance guy, I said, hey man, let me know how much this destroys your streets as the water and ice get into these holes that you drilled in your streets and then freeze in the winter and crack up all your streets. Let me know if your streets get completely destroyed by putting these things down and taking them up.
Like suggestion, why don't you tell them to put the bolt back in?
Yeah,
Whenever you make a hole in something,
Yeah, but-
water will find its way.
Yeah, but if you put the bolt, you take it out and then you put the bolt back in.
They won't.
And then leave the thing inside.
That's what I want to find out. That's what I want to find out. Because I don't believe that they can perfectly plug it. I just
but
don't
a lot
believe
of
that.
these old streets in Brooklyn were red brick and then they blacktopped over them.
Red brick was an ultimate solution to all these problems. Red brick streets don't have any of these problems. No one
They
speeds
should
down a
make
brick
it back
street.
to Red Brick
Trust
Street.
me.
Paratransit buses.
I slid,
Yellow.
there's only 35.
They're bumpy. It's like going driving down a rumble
Yeah.
strip. Rosemary,
I know
thank you.
there's a couple of
I hope that was somewhat helpful for you.
Yes.
But,
Okay,
but
good.
some of the areas that they put red brick streets back in Lakewood, I mean, 15 years later, they're still perfectly smooth.
There are some really beautiful red brick I want to talk about.
They
in a
don't have any
second. What is it?
bricklayers.
Fire.
No, I know.
Firecrackers.
Why?
Nobody wants
You
to.
have people that are lighting firecrackers at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they can't even see it.
Yeah.
And they're doing it all night.
Just
You
for the
have
big boom.
Animals that are scared.
If
It's
you
very.
if you know exactly who it is, and you like know that it's like Rodney down there, and it's always been Rodney, and if I go knock on his door, Rodney will be like, get all red in the face. Tell me, and I will go talk to him. Okay.
I know it sucks, but after 20 some years here, it's kind of old Brooklyn.
It is just a neighborhood thing. I'm happy to talk to them about it. Sometimes people just get away with what they think they can get away with. And if you just talk to them about it, sometimes they will chill out. I'm happy to try. Okay?
And if
So-
I have other questions, can I just send you email?
Of course, I prefer email. It's I love email more than everything else.
Thank you. You
Thank
all
you.
have
What was
a
your
great
name?
day. Sheila.
Sheila, thank you for coming, Sheila.
So, could I ask you a good question?
Yeah.
What are they doing with trying to retain police officers?
Okay, so City Council is not involved in union negotiations.
But
We
you
are
gotta
not
know
at the
something.
table, and we are not, by the design of government, we are not involved in the negotiation between the city of Cleveland and the police officers.
How about this?
People don't know
Okay,
this,
fine,
John.
I'll
Leave
let
it
them
run.
do it.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. I think the police need a raise.
Oh my God!
I think-
it's really it's embarrassing what Cleveland makes versus any of our neighboring cities.
Yes, it's a problem. It's not even poaching. It's just making a good financial decision for your family to go work almost anywhere else. So the police need a raise, and I would all be in favor if the mayor came back and said, I'd like to report that we negotiated a contract with the police that gives them a raise. I would applaud. That'd be a good thing. But I'm not involved in that Negotiation, I'm not allowed to be. I have no clue what they're talking about. I know that they're having negotiations right now. I'm not optimistic that they're gonna come back with a raise. I'm just not feeling that.
Well, they're not, because if you honestly think about it, if they gave them 10% right out the rip, a 10% raise in their union contract, it's still way under anybody around us.
Sure.
You go to Solon to start off at 75,000. You go to Cleveland, you start off at the low 40s, high 50s.
But 10% and some of the overtime they're getting too would be okay.
Yeah, you can't count overtime.
No, I know, but that's one of the reasons why some people stick around, because the overtime helps. But, so here's the thing. This year, we approved the budget for the Cleveland Police. There was a 10% increase to their whole operation. I'm sorry, 11. They asked for 11, we gave it all to them. We do that almost every single year. Every year, the police ask for more than they spent last year, with the idea that we need to hire more officers, right? We are also severely understaffed. It is no joke. We are down, what's the percentage? 13%?
I thought it was 25%.
Yeah, we're
It was
supposed to have
high.
1,600. We're at like 14 or 13 something.
Plus there's a big surplus that can leave right now.
Oh yeah. So we need to hire more officers. The officers we have need a raise. We allocate the money for more officers, and if they don't hire them, I don't understand why the administration won't negotiate that same missing gap in the raises for people who do stay, getting a little more realistic. One of the problems that we have with police, and this is true everywhere in the country right now, we're not unique, it's hard to find applicants. People are not lined up to become police officers. We opened up applications for the police review, the civilian review board, and 300 people signed up to be on the civilian review board. And I said, my God, if those 300 people would just join the police department, we could pay them all, we have room for them all, and they could be the change they want to see. Wouldn't that be amazing? We'd have enough police officers, we have all these young people that want to see reform. But that's not what people are interested in doing. They're interested in being critics, not being workers.
I can tell you honestly, and I know this from somebody personally, my nephew, who was on Cleveland for 7-8 years. He left Cleveland because he says you can't do nothing in Cleveland. If I go to arrest him, his officer in charge is like, no, don't. They don't want to do the paperwork. They don't want no hassle. They don't want no anything. So, and he wrote a big thing up on it, and he was really hurt about it because he grew up in a Denison area and he became a Cleveland cop.
Yeah.
Mainly because he wanted to make change in his
In his own
neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Now he's in Pensacola.
Yeah.
Making a change down there.
So here's there's a couple misperceptions I think about the police. They can and they do arrest people every day.
They do.
If you're breaking the law, they can and they will arrest you. The Operation Wheels Down on the dirt bikes has been incredibly successful. Have you guys noticed recently? There's been a lot of calming down with the dirt bikes, right? It's actually working, and hats off to all the police officers
I
involved in
run a
that.
sports club on 55th on the east side.
Uh-huh.
They come down the street, 14, 16, maybe 20 at a time.
Sure.
Dirt bikes, four-wheelers.
Yep.
They up and down the street. There ain't a goddamn cop in sight.
Yeah. So
And the 3rd district is right on the corner by
the
Chester.
problem hasn't ended, but it got a little bit better over here. And I know for a fact that the problem with dirt bikes on the east side and the west side are different types of problems. Because for one thing, it's a different type of rider. On the east side, they were grouping up at parks and then going on these huge rides. On the west side, it's people pulling them out of their garage and going up and down their own street and then going home at night in the same neighborhood where they were riding around. I was able to go to a lot of houses of dirt bike riders because I told people, tell me where they live, and knock on their door and say, you know, you tell your kids to knock it the hell off, but the cops are going to confiscate their bike and they're going to end up spending the night in jail.
And you passed out excellent literature.
Yeah, and I have incredible literature telling them where they can go to ride legally and enjoy their bikes because
Dropped
they
your
are
wallet.
fun. Yeah, you dropped your wallet there. Don't do that. So we're making a difference here. I can't solve every problem everywhere, but we're making a difference here. And you know, hats off to 2nd District. They've done a really good job on this issue this year.
My neighbor's a cop. 3 doors down is another cop. 4 doors down is another cop. All 3 of them said the same damn thing. They can't get a car here and they won't put radar on the street.
Can't get a car where?
On Cook.
Anywhere they
Okay.
won't put a car
Yeah.
out.
So the 2nd District has zones, right? And Old Brooklyn is split up into 2 zones. And the patrolling, if fully staffed, each zone has 2 patrol cars. So if fully staffed, Old Brooklyn should have 4 patrol cars.
Should have
There are
more than that.
250 streets in Old Brooklyn. We will never have a cop on every street. Never. But
I haven't seen a cop on my street except for the people that live next to me in
Yeah.
over 5 years.
yeah, well, do you sit on your porch all day long?
I sat on my porch for
All day
all day and
Okay.
counted the cars and trucks that went down my street.
Okay.
Speeding, I had a radar gun,
Okay.
60 miles an hour they're going down our street.
Okay.
And goddamn it, we can't even get a cop there.
Yeah,
And the guy next door to me said they won't do nothing.
yeah. You should tell him to tell the sergeant to put a cop on there. Or tell him to call me. So here's the
He was
thing.
supposed to be here today, he didn't show up.
Yeah, look at that. The police don't show up when you need them.
Yeah,
So,
and his daughter just
so
got on the
now,
force.
Mr. Long, imagine there's one of you on every street in the neighborhood.
I'm
There's a
sure.
person that feels your way on every street in the neighborhood, right? So I hear this on every street. I literally hear this on every single street. It's like a song.
It's like a
It's the Cook 500, it's the Gifford 500, it's the Woburn 500, it's the West 58th Street 500. I know. Because we're all dealing with the same problem. We're all dealing with the exact same
But not
problem.
on your street, because it's my street is a cut through.
Your street's a cut through, it's true.
My street's a cut through, and I never understood why, because you had to jog.
Yeah, it's not a good cut through.
Doesn't make
This
sense.
street's a cut through because you can come up 11th at Shaft, go straight to where it turns into 12th, and then take Cook all the way down to Ralph and get over to the highway, thus bypassing the intersection of Shaft and Broadview, which is a light, and the intersection of Broadview and either Oak Park or Portman, which is a light, and the intersection of something else, which is a light. You skip like 4 lights if you just do that. And everybody does it, and I know everybody does it, because everybody last year told me to pave Ralph. Get Ralph paved. I'm like, why does everybody care about Ralph? Because it's how you get to the highway.
Yeah.
Well, Cook is how you get to Ralph. So I know. There's a handful of streets like that.
So how many traffic officers do we have in Cleveland? In our ward?
Okay, so they have a traffic division.
Yes.
They have like sex crimes division and
Yeah,
traffic
yeah, yeah.
division.
How
Like
many
all these
traffic-
divisions.
how many
I
traffic-
have no clue.
Because
It's the
honestly,
motorcycles, it's the helicopter, and
honestly, the crap I see out there every day.
yeah.
Oh my God, we could be the richest city in the world.
And here's the other thing, no, they don't put radars in every car. Not every police patrol car has a radar gun. Average officer out there patrolling Old Brooklyn can't just post up and pull out his radar gun. He doesn't have one.
That's what the girl told me.
Yeah,
But
that's
why not?
exactly
How much
true.
is a radar gun?
I don't know.
Let's say they're $3,000. Is that a good estimate? Some suburbs have them.
I hope they're not that much.
Well, no, I'm going to
Okay,
overshoot.
all right.
Some suburbs have them front and back.
Sure.
So if let's say they're $3,000, well, you got to
Yeah.
write 20 tickets.
Yeah.
Then you make your money back off your investment.
So I am going to go out on a limb and guess that people have thought this over before, and that the Cleveland Police Department decided it wasn't an effective use of time. I could have something to do with the call volume, how many the response time. Remember, police are really criticized if they're a minute late to a call. So being posted up doing traffic enforcement might decrease call response time. But I guess what I'm getting at is we need to hire more officers. And if we can hire more officers and have more bodies on the street, crime goes down, enforcement goes up, and bad behavior goes down. Presence is a deterrent all day and all night. And if we had more police officers, we also have to do something about morale. Because a lot of those guys and gals aren't having the best days of their lives right now. Their pay is
they're working
substandard,
12,
they're
16-hour
overworked, they're
days.
yelled at. Everybody yells at them all the time.
And honestly, no cop should be working a 12-hour day with a gun on their side.
Right.
Because that's when bad decisions are going to be
I
made.
say that you want well-rested, happy cops.
Yes.
You want well-rested, happy cops. But this is a problem that we had to figure out. It's somewhat of a national problem in terms of recruitment. We're not the only force having a hard time recruiting.
Phoenix is coming here stealing our cops, we should be going to Phoenix and stealing their cops.
Yeah,
You know,
wasn't
we'll
that
offer you
pissy?
$1,000 more than you're making. Come to Cleveland.
Wasn't that pissy? You guys hear about that?
Yeah.
The city of Phoenix was up here trying
That's
to
not
recruit.
pissy. It's smart business. They don't have to pay. They don't have to pay for anybody's academy. All they have to do is transfer their credentials.
I know, it's frustrating.
Oh, gee.
The guy next door to me,
Yeah.
his brother's a cop
That's
and he went to Houston.
I wouldn't.
I know my uncle was a sheriff. He was in the detective unit. He did it for 5 years and retired. It's also it just takes a toll on you. Officers aren't usually people that put in 35 years.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm hoping that sooner or later the state steps in and either puts the sheriff's department or the state patrol in charge for a while.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't have any opinions on that. I don't even know how that works jurisdictionally.
Yeah, but the sheriff has total jurisdiction.
Well,
But if you actually put them in charge,
The sheriff,
they're gonna play by different rules. Like Ohio State Patrol plays by different rules. They don't go by
Ohio
that.
Highway Patrol is like.
They don't go by that bureaucratic. Oh well, we have to worry about who's filming us stuff.
Yeah.
They do their job, and that's
So-
cut and dry.
Ask Mr. Delaquilla about the traffic control on Brookside Road there in Seven Hills.
They pay their officers really well.
They got a lot of traffic control. in
Well, they do. They
Seven
pay their officers well, but they also give out lots of
Hills.
tickets.
25 zone, you better do 25.
I actually met a police officer that lives in our ward. He's in the traffic division. He said, look, if you want to cut down on crime, just don't send me in. He said, all I end up doing is giving working stiffs a ticket. He's like, all I do is bust somebody going 10 miles over the limit and ruin their day. I don't actually reduce crime. I was like, thank you for the honesty. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but ever since the pandemic, nobody drives the speed limit.
It's true.
I could take
That's
480
true.
to go east.
It's nationally true.
I could go 5 miles
the
above the
jury's back.
speed limit at 65, and they blow by me.
I-
They're doing
I can set it
70.
at
And
68
the one
and they blow
time
by.
I saw a Dodge Charger go from the right lane to the left lane, he must have been doing about 90.
I think there's 3 lanes on the highway now, 60, 70, and 80.
Yeah.
Like, and that's all they really
But
need.
Mayfield Heights has those cameras now, and they did hand out. I don't know if you saw it in the Sun News. They handed out a lot of tickets. With
So the cameras aren't illegal, but they have to be babysat by a
Yeah, it's a touchy
breathing
subject.
But
officer
still,
who's
it
sitting
brought in a
there.
lot of
I
money.
like that guy in, who's that, on the other side of the bridge?
Oh, that's Newburgh Heights.
Newburgh
I
Heights.
know exactly.
Oh,
where that
Trevor?
He sits on
Sits
that bridge
there.
with a
Oh.
camera. You come down 77, you could watch the bridges. They sit on a bridge,
Yeah.
on a chair with a camera, and he takes.
Oh, they're like in a
pictures.
lawn chair.
Yeah, he sits on a. I laugh my ass off, and he catches so many people, and nobody says a thing about it.
There was a
no, there are people that are pissed off
Well,
about
you know what?
that.
If Newburgh's not careful, they're going to end up in a Lindale situation where they won't just be allowed to ticket that section. Because like Lindale,
Well, Lindale, the only reason why Lindale is because they didn't have an exit and an entrance, egress and regress. That's why they cannot do
Does
what they
Newburgh
did.
have both?
Sorry?
Does Newburgh have both? I know they have
Yes.
Harvard.
They have
There's
Fleet,
a camera.
Is Fleet
Newburgh
cameras
Harvard.
on Harvard.
I didn't know Fleet was actually Newburgh Heights or Cleveland.
part of it.
Fleet is Cleveland, all of it.
Is it all of it?
Yeah. The Fleet's north of Newburgh.
Okay. But yeah. Hey, it is
All
what it is.
right.
It's
Alright.
funny as hell, I have to laugh. I'm telling you, this cop next door to me,
Yeah.
his daughter went to school for radar and everything,
Yeah.
and she's a police officer now.
In Cleveland?
And she says, I can't even bring a radar gun in my car.
No, it's
They
not.
won't let me have it.
That's not how they want them out there. Hey, you know, I respect people that know more about their job than I do.
I
About
sat
their
on
job.
my
So if a
front
cop,
porch
if the
drinking beer.
police say we really shouldn't be spending time with radar guns, I have to believe that there's a good reason they say that.
So I had a buddy who was in the 5th district, and he said 80% of the people he pulled over don't have license, don't have insurance. They write tickets, they don't show up for court. If they arrest them within an hour, they're out on the street again.
You know, I was
So he said that's why he doesn't pull people over anymore.
I was at Juvie, and I toured the juvenile facility over on 89th. They have like less than a 10% recidivism rate. This notion that kids are going to jail and then immediately going, like the kids get arrested and they go back out. 90% of the kids that go to juvie never go back. They go one time, which is encouraging in terms of their, you know.
But isn't our juvie pretty full?
I wouldn't want to live there. It's a jail. It's not like a dorm room with extra security. It's a jail. You sleep in a cell. You are on lockdown for a number of hours.
Well, no, what I'm saying is a lot of kids just get instantly released again because there's no room to even put them in a juvenile hall.
Well,
So they just release them to the parents.
So they all preach diversion.
They close
The fear
the-
is once the kid goes to jail, the kid labels themselves mentally as a criminal and will never try to not be one. So there's this idea that we want to try to keep them out of juvie, so they try other things first. The kids that are in there did some messed up shit.
They closed the workhouse, huh?
What's the workhouse? Everybody uses that term. Everybody uses it.
Warrensville Road.
Warrensville and Harvard.
Near,
It's on Warrensville and Harvard.
Oh, you guys all know where this is at, huh?
Yeah.
Any reason
Yeah, like,
why?
oh, it's right over there. You make a right. I don't know. What do they do there? What do they work on?
They pick up rubbish on the
We
freeway.
have the trash pickup on the.
Oh, those crews are out all the time. I see those crews out there.
I think they turned that over to the probation department.
Actually,
They turned that over,
area
yeah,
is
but a
now
lot of those guys
Tri-City
don't come
East.
out of there.
Yeah.
You know, they're there.
And,
But they
George
don't,
Ford's
some of them, they
camp.
have the option, you
I
can
think.
either work on the road, get a reduced sentence, or.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
House of
It is what it
Corrections.
is.
Yeah.
What was it?
It is what
They
it
got
is.
about
is,
4
sure.
different places out there.
One more thing in
Yeah.
on
Is it closed? The one-
I don't know, that's what I asked them.
You don't
You're,
know anymore about
you're
some
with
of the workhouse.
the Utilities Commission, right? I mean, you're on
When I
the
was
board.
growing
for
up,
I'm on the utilities committee, yeah.
Workhouse.
Why don't they change the
3 days,
PCs
5
on
days,
top of
10
the
days.
streetlights? Why are they burning why are they all on West Boulevard burning days?
Wait, why are the streetlights on during the day?
Yes.
All
That's a
the
great
photo
question.
cells are
The
gone?
photo cells are gone. And why aren't they, I mean, why isn't Cleveland, I mean, the PC maybe what, $10? The head is like 150.
I mean, even if the photo cell was $100, I mean, it saves.
Well,
by
no,
a year.
you don't change a
You mean
bulb
to
now.
recycle it? What are you talking about?
No, a printed, if you look at a street light, there's a little thing on top.
Yeah,
That's called a photo cell.
When it gets
And
done.
that's-
And the
that
photo cells,
turns it on and off.
they go back. So when the sun shines on it, the light stays off.
Uh-huh.
When it's dark, the light turns on.
Okay,
So if
yeah.
you go down West Boulevard, almost down to Lorraine from Clinton, they're almost all of them are on
During the day.
during the day.
Because the
And
photo
we
cells are
spent
bad.
$10 million to change everything over from light bulbs to LED
Well,
fixtures.
I'm gonna venture a guess. They haven't switched over to LEDs yet,
Well, they have, all of them.
but the photo cells turn on the LEDs
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Oh.
This PC is like, you put it in, you twist it. I work for Cleveland Public Power, that's why.
Yeah.
I retired.
Smart.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, 35 years, I
I
don't know.
I can ask about it the next time I see, Brian Casey's the chair of utilities, he tends to know a lot about these things, so I can ask him the next time I see him, but.
Even though it's LED, it's drawing 10 watts, if you have 100 of them, 10 times.
No, I get it, it all adds up,
It
right?
all adds
Turn
up.
your lights off during the day. That's a good question, I haven't been asked that before, and I don't know the answer, but I can try to find out.
If you need any information about CPP, I know a lot.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I know a lot. 35 years with them.
Why have it when you got
Snow.
You know what cracks me up
Alright.
about that? You know what cracks me up about the environment
Yeah?
we're in now?
You got it?
What cracks me up now is they want everybody to go to electric cars, and we can't handle a 90-degree day with the air conditioning system, whether it's CPP or First Energy.
Thank you for your time.
Filing date, July 13th.